Sometimes all you truly need is silence, not that awkward silence that lingers in the air, heavy and uncomfortable, as if hiding something. I'm speaking of another kind, a silence that heals, that embraces, that whispers truths, the noise of the world keeps trying to drown out. We are surrounded by voices, by screens, by opinions and alerts. The world speaks too much and listens too little. It shouts its urgency as if every second were a race. It hurries your steps, pushes your days forward, and makes you forget that real life happens in the space between one thought and the next, in the pause between one breath and another. Have you noticed that? Most people spend their entire lives chasing answers, in books, in videos, in ready-made phrases, in advice from those who've never dared to face their own depths. But some questions can only be answered by the wind-up high. Only the solitude of the mountains or the echo of a silent moment can reach them. Today, you will hear a story, simple, honest, quiet. It may not change your life like lightning tearing across a stormy sky, but it may do something even greater. It may plant a seed, one that makes no noise, but grows from within, slowly, silently, until one day without warning you notice something has shifted. So now, allow yourself this. Breathe with intention, let the weight slip off your shoulders, empty, even for a moment, this mind that tries to carry the entire world, and just listen, not in a rush, not expecting, simply present, because sometimes all the soul really needs is a story that helps it remember who it has always been. So breathe, empty your mind, and just listen. On an ordinary autumn afternoon, beneath the overcast sky of a quiet countryside town, a young man named Raphael walked through the narrow streets of his neighborhood. At 28, he lived a simple life, working as an assistant in a small local bookstore. Passionate about stories since childhood, Raphael found in books a refuge from the trials of daily life. One day, while organizing old volumes in the bookstore's basement, Raphael stumbled upon a dusty diary with a worn leather cover. Curious, he began to leaf through the yellowed pages and discovered the writings of a man named Aurelius, who had lived in the same town over 70 years ago. Aurelius described in vivid detail his adventures in search of a lost treasure, supposedly hidden in the hills surrounding the town. Intrigued by the tale, Raphael decided to learn more about Aurelius. He visited the town archives, spoke with longtime residents, and discovered that Aurelius had been known as the Dreamer, a man who devoted his life to pursuing something many believed to be a mere legend. Despite the skepticism, Raphael felt an inexplicable connection to Aurelius and his relentless search. Resolute in his decision to follow Aurelius's path, Raphael began exploring the trails mentioned in the diary. Each step brought him to breathtaking landscapes and unexpected encounters with people who shared stories about the mysterious treasure. What began as a quest driven by curiosity slowly transformed into a journey of self-discovery and deeper purpose. With each new stretch of the trail, Raphael found himself drifting further from the man he used to be. His feet ached, his muscles protested, and the urge to give up came over him like a thick fog at times. But something within him had shifted. He began to understand that the search for the so-called treasure was just a symbol, a living metaphor, unfolding before his eyes. Aurelius had not been after gold. He had been searching for clarity, a kind of wealth untouched by time, untouchable by thieves. On the third night camped along the hillside, Raphael faced a fierce storm. The tent gave way. Icy rain soaked through his clothes, and for hours he had nothing but his coat and a makeshift fire for shelter. It was in that moment of chaos that he remembered a passage from Aurelius's journal. The man who fears pain becomes chained to it. The one who accepts it surpasses it. In that instant, Raphael understood. Stoicism wasn't about gritting one's teeth through suffering. It was about acknowledging pain without letting it steer the soul. In the days that followed, he began to observe nature differently. The trees that endured the wind weren't the stiffest ones, but those that knew how to bend with wisdom. The water in the streams flowed around the stones instead of trying to break them. Everything around him seemed to teach patience, flexibility, and a silent sense of purpose. He started applying that same gaze inward. When memories of past wounds tried to consume him, he let them pass like clouds. When fears of the future crept in, he returned to the present, one step at a time, one breath at a time. It was in a small clearing that he found an old stone structure weathered by time and moss. Inside, there was only a rusted box and a letter, no gold, just words. Aurelius had written it to whoever makes it this far, and said that the true treasure was the man shaped by the journey itself. If you've read this, then you are all ready. Rich, you've discovered the value of silence, of persistence, and of calm courage. Raphael read those words over and over, sitting there for hours, as if trying to etch them into his skin. He felt no disappointment, only peace. And perhaps, for the first time, the quiet sense that he was exactly where he needed to be. He knew he would return to the city, but he would carry with him something no one could weigh or compare. He would no longer be the same man, and maybe, if you've made it this far in the video, you're on a journey of your own. Perhaps your treasure isn't hidden on a mountain, but inside a decision, a change, or a new way of seeing life. If this video resonated with you, if any part of it touched something deep within, consider subscribing to this channel. Now here we share reflections without rush and depth without noise. And if you feel comfortable, share with us in the comments. What has been the most challenging moment in your life that taught you to see with more clarity? We'll read every story and value each one. Raphael's return to the city was not met with fanfare, nor was it accompanied by curious crowds. He came down from the trail with nothing but his backpack, Aurelius's journal, and a different expression, more serene, more grounded, as if he had left the weight of the past behind, scattered among the stones of the mountain. Those who saw him again sensed something unusual, not something visible, but a presence, the way he listened more than he spoke. How his gaze didn't dart around with distraction, but rested gently on people, as if he understood that time is too short to be anything but fully present. Nothing around him had changed. The streets were still noisy, the people rushed, the old urban dilemmas remained. But Raphael was no longer the same. Not because he had discovered mystical secrets or returned with some kind of magical formula, but because he had done the hardest thing of all, faced himself in silence. He had learned, as the ancient Stoics would say, that while we cannot control the winds, we can adjust our sails, and so he began to live that way. He made decisions with more calm, not driven by the fear of failure, but by the quiet certainty that even mistakes are teachers. When he lost something, he did not panic. He remembered what he had read. Everything that is temporary was never truly yours. Use it, enjoy it, but be ready to let it go. He began to practice emotional detachment, intentional presence, and the power of silence. While others sought distraction to avoid themselves, Raphael sat in stillness to meet himself again. His favorite company became his own. At one point, he began sharing parts of Elias's journal in small gatherings. Gradually, people started to come, not for spectacle but out of need. Each person carried a thirst for something they couldn't quite name, and Raphael, never placing himself above anyone, simply offered his stories. He didn't give ready-made advice. He asked better questions. That's when he realized his journey had not ended. It had only changed form. The treasure Elias had hidden in that box of words was now multiplying in other lives. And maybe that's what few understand. Wisdom isn't meant to be hoarded. It's meant to be shared. The mountain had taught Raphael that true legacy isn't what we leave behind for others. It's what we awaken within them. If something inside you stirred while watching this far, maybe now is the time for a small but powerful gesture. Subscribe to this channel, but not out of habit, not out of obligation. Do it if you truly want to continue this path of discovery, of inner strength, of stories that don't shout, but reach deep. Here, each video is an invitation to turn inward, to question what seems obvious, to slow down in a world that runs on autopilot. And while you're here, tell us in the comments, what did this video awaken in you? Which part of this story touched you the most? Or maybe, what decision have you been quietly rehearsing but haven't yet had the courage to take? This space isn't just about videos, it's about people. And your story matters just as much as any script.